So one of the things that we are going to do is lilmeid behaisvadus miterase, to learn something, a Torah from the Rebbe's father at the Farbrengen. So I'm going to attempt to do that. And as we all know, the Torah of the Rebbe's father is Kabbalah, and there's Gematriyos, and you have to pay attention. But we know that there was something very interesting that I saw. For me, it was a chiddush, even though it's an old thing. But there's an organization called Keilo Tiferes Kenim Levi Yitzchak, which is, the Rebbe founded this organization and this movement, which is to make a keila for those that are retired and have free time, that there should be keilim that give these people stipends that they should sit and learn Torah. And the name is called, it's Keilo Tiferes Kenim Levi Yitzchak, for the Rebbe's father. So throughout the years, the chapter in 770 in New York would have gatherings in 770, and the Rebbe would participate. With the senior citizens would get together, and the Rebbe would participate. So on Tavshim Mem Daled, in 1984, there was a gathering in 770, and the organizer and the director of the organization, Rabbi Menachem Garlitsky, sent in a duch to the Rebbe of the program that will happen at 770. So he starts off. I'm looking at a picture of this duch that he sent into the Rebbe. So he starts off that there's going to be Divrei Psicha at 1:30, the opening remarks, and then there's going to be Chazan Reb Shneur Zalman Sheiche Baumgarten at 1:45. There's going to be songs in the Ginna Yidei Hatamim Avram Sheikh HaKayin Friedman, also known as Avram Fried. And then he goes on, which ends off with the Rebbe, with Mincha, with the Rebbe Shlita, he writes. So on the first thing, was actually the second thing, starts off with Kabbalah Spanim, and the second item on the agenda, on the schedule, was the Divrei Psicha, the opening remarks. The Rebbe wrote next to those words that the opening remarks should be B'dvar Malchus. It should be a Dvar Malchus. What does Dvar Malchus mean? We usually, Man Malki Rabbanan, I'm usually associated with the Sikha of the Rebbe. That's usually what Dvar Malchus is, but the Rebbe says that there should be a Dvar Malchus, Miteirasai Shel, and then a sign to the stationery of this organization, which is called Keilo Tiferes Kenim Levi Yitzchak. That there should be a Dvar Malchus from the Torah of Levi Yitzchak, the Rebbe circled. And then the Rebbe added 2 or 3 very important words. That this Torah, this Dvar Malchus of the Rebbe's father, that should be chazer by this event, should be Hamuvan Lahanesafim. It should be a Torah from the Rebbe's father that's understood by those that are gathered at this event. And just to point out that the people that were gathered at this event, not necessarily, many of them probably did not have a background in Torah learning in general, especially the deep Torah of the Rebbe's father. But the Rebbe insisted that the Torah that should be chazer should be understood by all that are gathered. So I'm going to attempt to try to do that. So I'm asking everyone, to those that are here and those that are watching via the broadcast, to try to listen for a moment or two. And I'd like to thank Rabbi Pesach Schmerling. I actually took this from something that he translated into English, so it's one level closer to be understood at a public Farbrengen. Okay, so we know that. So here we go. We're going to chazer a Torah of the Rebbe's father. So the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says a famous line: "The ben chamish shanim lemikra." When the child becomes 5 years old, that's when he starts learning Torah. Ben chamish shanim lemikra. So what's the process? How does this happen? How do you start learning at 5 years old? It must be that for the first 5 years, you're learning how to read. How do you learn how to read? The child learns the Aleph base. And as we see, the custom is that children only start reading later on. But from Tindik Maschel Daber Avim Alam de Torah, you start teaching the child Aleph base. And through learning Aleph base for 5 years, when he's 5 years old, ben Chamesh Shanim Lemikra, he's ready to start learning. So that's an obvious, that's the way life works, and makes sense. But in the style of the Rebbe's father, there's nothing that just makes sense up his seichel. There has to be some type of inner reason why this is like that, because we know that Gashmis comes from Ruchnis, is Nishtalsha from Ruchnis, and since it's like that spiritually, that's why physically that's the way it is, that for the first 5 years you have to learn Aleph base. So here's the Torah. You have to start learning the Aleph Beis for the first 5 years. How do you say a year in Lashon HaKodesh? The word for year is Shana. Shana has the gematria, the 3 letters, Shin, Nun, Hey, have the gematria of 355. So 355. How many years are we talking about? There's 5 years before you start learning. So there's 5 years, there's 5 times the word Shana. What's the gematria? What's 355 times 5? Is 1775. Okay, so we have the 5 years that the child is learning. The Aleph Beis, Shana times 5 is 1775. Now, the Rebbe's father teaches that we see this process in the very Aleph Beis themselves. Because the Aleph Beis, what's the gematria of the Aleph Beis? Not just the Aleph Beis, but the Mansapach, the end letters, the Schlossmem and the Langenun and the Langentzadek and the Langefe and the Langechof. If you have the Aleph Beis with those letters together, what's the gematria? Again, 1775. The same thing as Shana times 5. So we see in the very Aleph Beis, we have this concept that before Ben Chamesh Shana L'Mikra, in order to start learning, you have to have 5 years of learning the Aleph Beis. So that's a short Torah of the Rebbe's father. To Mekayim the Rebbe's Hira Lilmin Beisvardis B'Terasai, but obviously this is just the beginning, and everyone should make a kviyas, either starting today or starting tomorrow. But to start a kviyas and learning the Torah of the Rebbe's father, which is available, and Baruch Hashem over the last 2 years there have been many books and booklets and PowerPoints and different things that Le'ezer L'Suyua to learn the Rebbe's Torah.